Welcome back to The Key, Inside Higher Ed's news and analysis podcast. I'm Doug Letterman, editor and co-founder of Inside Higher Ed and host of The Key, most of the time. Today, though, we have a special episode from our new limited series, Voices of Student Success. Student success is a growing priority for many institutions as leaders grapple with public doubt about the value of higher education, a looming demographic enrollment decline, and historically high levels of mental health issues among Gen Z learners. In this 6-episode series, host Ashley Maureeder explores some of the solutions and innovations that institutions are employing to help their students succeed in college and beyond. Before we turn it over to Ashley, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Inside Track.
This episode is brought to you by Inside Track, the nonprofit leader in student success coaching for more than 20 years. Inside Track uses the power of coaching to support individuals in achieving their educational and career goals, transforming lives and institutions while creating social change. Learn more about this important work at insidetrack.org/thekey.
Hello, and welcome to Voices of Student Success, Inside Higher Ed's newest podcast on student retention, engagement, and graduation strategies. I'm your host, Ashley Maureeder, Student Success Reporter for Inside Higher Ed. Thanks for joining us today. This podcast is a companion to our Student Success newsletter, which offers ideas and inspiration for higher education practitioners looking to impact students' academic life, college experiences, health and wellness, and lives after graduation. Throughout the series, I'll be sitting down with guests from a variety of institutions and roles to learn more about the issues that their students face and the ways they're looking to support them. Affordability is a key concern in the retention of students, with student surveys reporting financial strain is affecting their mental health and academic performance. One way professors can make their classes more affordable is to utilize open education resources, also known as OERs, which provide the same content as a traditional textbook but free of charge. To make her class more affordable, one professor at the University of Cincinnati at Clermont created her own e-text, available as an OER. In this episode, I spoke with accounting professor Patty Goedl, who created an OER textbook chock full of all the intel you'd expect from a regular textbook and more, but with none of the extra costs. Here's Patty. Well, Patty, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today on this podcast. It's really wonderful speaking with you again.
Hi, Ashley. It's nice to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
I guess just to start off, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Dr. Patty Goedl. I am a professor at University of Cincinnati, Clermont College, and I teach accounting.
Just to start us off, can you talk a little bit about when did you first learn about open education resources and sort of what was that first kickstart to get involved in that world?
Well, a couple things happened, I would say, about mid-2012, 2015. A couple things happened at once. First, our college offering a stipend to investigate OER resources or open access resources, and I participated in the pilot. And it was interesting because back then there were only two. There was a resource for financial accounting, which I teach, and a resource for managerial accounting, which I teach, which are both the introductory first two accounting courses required for most business majors. So back then, there were very few, and the resources, quite honestly, weren't that good. Then, fast forward a year or two, both of my daughters enter college, and I am, of course, buying textbooks, and I realized that I have two girls in college taking 4 to 5 courses each per semester, and each one of those courses required a $200 textbook. And it was overwhelming. I just couldn't believe it. And so I was saying something to my daughters, and they're like, "Oh, Mom, you don't even have to buy half of those. We don't even open them." And I'm like, "What?" And so it really got me thinking about the price of textbooks, the value of textbooks, how much students use textbooks. So I started polling students and asking them, do you use your books? Do you buy the books? And I found that a lot of them don't. And so I started thinking about reducing those costs for my students, what that would look like. And I decided that I was already creating so much content for my courses. And really, I wasn't using the book that much that I might as well just write a book. And I did.
Yeah. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, I know as a student, I remember seeing textbook prices and just getting sticker shock, right? Because they can be so expensive. What goes into selecting course materials on your end? What are the things that you value, and why can course materials cost so much?
That's an interesting question, and I think that every professor would have a slightly different answer. For me, there were a couple factors in selecting course material. First, it was what are my colleagues using? So we have multiple sections of these classes. They're introductory financial accounting classes for all business majors. So at UC, we tend to talk about what books we're using so that all sections use a comparable book. However, professors do have the academic freedom to choose whatever title they want. And in accounting, the second thing that I was really looking at were the supplements, the online homework managers where students could log in, have an account, and do homework online. So those were the two factors. Definitely for me, the homework manager was the most important factor in selecting the text. The text I was using had, in my opinion, the best homework manager.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are inspired to write your own book. What is the first step in the process? Where do you go to learn more about open education resources, or where do you go from there?
Oh, wow. It's an overwhelming process. And I think if I would have known all the steps at the beginning, I may have hesitated before I started the journey. I just jumped in. I think that that's how most good things end up. You say, I'm going to do this, and you jump in and you get started. First, let me go back to the format of the book, which is really interesting. So I call it a video e-text. And it is a traditional textbook in that if you read a traditional college level textbook, it has all of the elements, the traditional text with the examples and the problems where you work out a problem. It has the side stories and the end of chapter review and those sorts of things that you would expect in a textbook. So you have the traditional text. Every section also has a video lecture in which I explain the traditional text and demonstrate the traditional in-text problem that in a regular textbook you would have to read. And then I have a check your understanding or embedded activities in the book where students, after they either read the text or watch the videos, they can do online check your understanding or homework review problems that are automatically graded so they get that feedback. Do you understand the concept? So essentially, a student that learns best by reading could read the textbook and not watch a single video and learn all the concepts. A student that learns better by watching videos could watch all the videos and not read a word of the book and learn all the concepts. And then the student who wants a deep understanding could read the text and watch the videos. So it really is a choose your own adventure kind of format, which I like. It's very accessible to students that learn differently. So the first iteration of the textbook was really a collection of the materials that I was already using. I pulled them all together and then I added some verbiage, and then I decided to add videos, and slowly the textbook in its current form emerged.
That's awesome. You mentioned video content. What was your experience level with making video content prior to this? What was the inspiration behind that?
So I'm an advocate of online education, an unapologetic advocate of online education, although I teach online and traditional face-to-face, and I think both are great. I think they're just two different ways to disseminate information and learning. They're just two formats of classroom learning. And for most disciplines, I feel that a well-designed online class can be equivalent or even better than a well-designed face-to-face class. So in the online realm, I had already been using videos because I still feel like accounting is a subject in which you need to learn it from an expert. It's lecture-based. You're not going to learn it by reading a textbook. You need to have an instructor explain the content. And then even in my face-to-face classes, I was a pioneer in lecture capture. I was capturing the lectures and recording them and making them available online for students that either missed class or they didn't understand it the first time. They could review it. So I've been using video work for over a decade now. And I think it's so very important. Well, I did a survey of it was over, probably now, it's been a continuing survey. It's close to 400 students. And I asked students, I said, what are the value of textbooks? Do you buy your books? And I also asked them, how do you prefer to learn? Do you prefer to learn by reading the book? Do you prefer to learn by watching a video? Do you prefer to learn through lecture? And hands down, 90% of the students prefer to learn by watching a video. It's the YouTube generation, the young students, and even the older ones, quite honestly, selected video. So with my textbook, I created what I'm calling a video e-text. So it has video lectures embedded throughout the textbook, a very interesting format.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned earlier that one, that you've gone through several iterations of your textbook, but two, that you didn't know how much work it would be on the onset. What were the biggest challenges in developing the book, and what have you learned since writing your own textbook?
The challenges, I think, are really time, because as a professor, I'm teaching a lot of classes, I'm serving on committees, I'm actively researching. So it was finding that time, and for the book, I've probably spent over 1,000 hours on. And so I gave up a lot of my personal time to write the book. And the second challenge was really resources. I wanted to do a video e-text, and in order to do something like that, you need an online publisher or a format in which you can publish the book and make it available to students. You need online storage to host the videos. And thankfully, my university is supporting open access textbooks and providing those resources. But at the beginning, I didn't have access to those because I was paying out of pocket. So I think those are the two things to consider if you're considering an OER: is time, the time commitment to do it, and then the resources to support the book. Where are you going to publish it? Is it going to be freely available to students? Can you store videos if you use them?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned your student surveys. What have you learned has been the impact of your book on students' affordability of your course, but also just in how they learn and how they engage with course materials?
Yes, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Some of the things I asked students on the survey, which I survey all the students every semester to continually get feedback, because they're the users of the book, and I get a lot of valuable feedback from them. Overwhelmingly, one of the questions I say, is this equivalent to a standard textbook that you would purchase, like the one you purchased for the class previous? Absolutely. Over 95%, this is an equivalent resource. Did you prefer to watch the videos or read the book? Of course, it was watch the videos. And then if given a choice of using this textbook or purchasing a textbook, which would you prefer? And it's always using the textbook. And in addition to that, I get a lot of open-ended comments. I have open-ended comments on the survey as well as on my course evaluation, where students are so grateful for the resource. Thank you so much for providing this. One textbook is a week's worth of groceries. And I think we forget about that. We forget how expensive these books are, and that students also have other things, other financial obligations.
Yeah, that's something that's really struck me about your text. Is not only is it free and accessible for students who want to learn, at their own pace and their own time in your course, but it's open to anybody, right? They don't have to be at your institution. They could just be really interested in accounting and pick up your book or your e-text, I guess, and engage with the video lectures. It seems like not only is it affordability at the heart, it's access and inclusivity. Would you say that is a trend as well?
Absolutely. I think you're going to see more of that. Individuals learning on their own just so that they can upskill and they can advance in their career, maybe better understand a subject that they're interested in. Absolutely. My textbook is freely available to anyone that wants to learn basic managerial accounting, which I love. It's a very practical course for anyone that is thinking about starting a small business or that it works in management, because basically what it is it teaches you how to make decisions, managerial decisions about money. Should I buy this? Should I advertise? What cost should I charge? What kind of cost structure do I need? So it is freely available. The only difference would be you're not enrolled into a college level credit course, and you're not taking an exam to earn that credit. But you can learn everything that I teach in the course just by going to the free textbook.
Do you see a future of continuing to evolve your book or writing new books? Where do you see yourself in that picture?
I'm going to add more to my book, a couple chapters I want to add. I want to string through some technologies. Microsoft Excel is used a lot in accounting in the professional world, so I want to string through an Excel example for every chapter so that they can also learn accounting and Excel at the same time. So I definitely want to work on my OER. I'm not sure if I am interested in writing another one right now, but maybe a few years when the memory of the hours and hours are a little further away, I would consider writing another one for financial accounting.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you had to give advice to a faculty member who's interested in writing their own book, what would you share, or what would be your encouragement for somebody looking to develop their own e-text?
If they're interested and they are thinking about it, my advice would be just do it. This has been one of the most worthwhile projects that I have done. It's been so well received. It's helped me professionally. Of course, it's a professional development opportunity, and university, it's a hot topic at universities, so it will help you in your reappointment, promotion, and tenure process. It's so beneficial for students. I've received so much positive and kind feedback from students, and I feel like I've made such a difference. I have saved so many students a little bit of money every semester. I want to talk about the savings and the impact of one faculty member. I am one person that wrote one book, and I published it going on 2 years now. And in 2 years, just at my institutions, and the classes, the managerial accounting courses offered at my institution, because every section and every instructor is using the book for this class, I've saved students over $200,000 in just a couple years. And every semester, I'm saving students another $30,000. I mean, just one person at one institution, one textbook. So it's so worthwhile. If you're interested and your heart is leading you that way, I would say do it. You won't regret it.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Well, Patty, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today about you and your book. And I hope that we get to chat more in the future as this continues to become a trend.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And a very big thank you to our listeners for joining us today for this episode of Voices of Student Success. I'll be back in 2 weeks to discuss a university's collegiate recovery program for students struggling with substance use or in recovery, and the importance of physical health in student success. That's all for this episode. I'm Ashley Maureiter, and I'll see you real soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode, sponsored by Inside Track, providing coaching solutions tailored to every stage of the student journey. Inside Track coaching is proven to improve student enrollment, persistence, and completion. Learn how you can unlock the power of coaching to advance your learners toward their goals at insidetrack.org/thekey.